Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. We shall begin Satsang with the prayer, followed by the Muktaka trayam. The prayer will be chanted by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. The Muktaka trayam will be chanted by Sri Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् रमणाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय नमो रमना to everyone.
एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहं साक्षात् आत्मरूपपाति हृदि मनसा त्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरूपा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मय जडात्मकम् अहं तत्तद्भावशक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भा कुतो दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणा अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Upadesa Saram by Uma and Ashwini Balaji.
नमो रमण इदमहं पदभिज्ञमन्महम् अहमिलीनके प्रलयसत्तया विग्रहेन्द्रिया प्राणगीतमा नाहमेकसत्तज्जडं व्यसत् सत्त्वभासिका चित्त्ववेतरा सत्तया हि चित्तया ह्यहम् ईश जीवयोर्वेषदीपित सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् वेषहानत स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपत आत्मसंस्थिति स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्द्वयादात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीन चेत् ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरं किं स्वरूपम् इत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवा अपूर्णचित्सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखम् विन्दति ह जीवस्तुदैविक अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदं तपो रमणभाग्यम्. नमो रमण.
Namo Ramana. We will now present 3 songs from Ramananjali Sangeetam. The first one will be by Pratibha from US. The second one will be by Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan. The third song will be presented by Revathi Sankar.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is a Hindi translation of Sri Rengaswamy's composition. Swami says, Ramana Immaculate, my God, give me the gift of life, pure bliss. Lord of light, immense, remove the dark Maya, the ignorance. O Lord, you who have conquered Yama, please give us immortality. O Bhagavan, Lord of serene peace, let me offer this garland at your feet, which is the essence of all good. हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार. हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार. हे रमण स्वामी भगवान हमें दो चिदानंद निर्विकार. हे रमण स्वामी भगवान हमें दो चिदानंद निर्विकार. हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार. हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार. हे अमित तेज भगवान मिटा दो माया का अंधकार. हे अमित तेज भगवान मिटा दो माया का अंधकार. मिटा दो माया का अंधकार. मिटा दो माया का अंधकार. जीवनामृत की धार, हे मृत्युंजय भगवान पिला दो जीवनामृत की धार, पिला दो जीवनामृत की धार, पिला दो जीवनामृत की धार। हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार, हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार। हे शांति तत्व भगवान, हे शांति तत्व भगवान चरण तम सकल सत्व का सार, हे शांति तत्व भगवान चरण तम सकल सत्व का सार। हे रमण स्वामी भगवान चढ़ाओ हृदय पुष्प का हार, हे रमण स्वामी भगवान चढ़ाओ हृदय पुष्प का हार, चढ़ाओ हृदय पुष्प का हार, चढ़ाओ हृदय पुष्प का हार। हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार, हे काल स्वरूप भगवान जीवन का निर्मल दो उपहार। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय।
கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன், கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன், என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன். கண்டவர் சொல்ல காட்சி விளங்கும் ககன உலகிலே வாழ, கண்டவர் சொல்ல காட்சி விளங்கும் ககன உலகிலே வாழ, என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன். நனவுடன் தோயிலும் கனவும் இல்லாத ஞான ரவி ஒளிரும் நாட்டில் அங்கே மனமுடல் அவருடனே மங்கள வாழ்வினில் வாழ, மனமுடலகன்றே அவருடனே மங்கள வாழ்வினில் வாழ, என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன். குறை பிணி துயிலும் மரணமும் காம குரோதமும் லோபமும் மனுக கங்கே அறிவொளி நிலவில் ஆனந்தமாக ஆத்மரமண குருநாதன், அறிவொளி நிலவில் ஆனந்தமாக ஆத்மரமண குருநாதன், என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன். போனவர் திரும்ப புது நகரத்திலே பொன்மயல் மாளிகை உள்ளே, அங்கே ஞானமே ரமண சபை நடுவதிலே நாதனவருடனே வாழ, ஞானமே ரமண சபை நடுவதிலே நாதனவருடனே வாழ, என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன் என்னை கொண்டு செல்வாரே. ஒரு தினம் இதய குகையில் ரமண குருநாதன். ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Once, while conversing with Nayana, Bhagavan spoke of the Venba meter in Tamil, asking him to adopt it either in Sanskrit or in Telugu. Nayana tried, but without success. To him, Venba meter was more demanding in its observance of the rules of prosody than the most difficult Arya meter of Sanskrit. Subsequently, he attempted it in Telugu versification, only to give up in despair. Now it was Nayana's turn to request Bhagavan to adopt it in Sanskrit composition. Bhagavan declined, saying he had little knowledge of Sanskrit and even less of Sanskrit prosody. Notwithstanding Bhagavan's reluctance, Nayana explained the technique of Arya meter, requesting him to compose in it. Bhagavan composed the famous shloka starting with the words Karunapurna Sudabdhe. Later, in 1917, when Nayana was contemplating on the invocatory verses to Ramana Gita, which he had just then completed, he remembered this shloka of Bhagavan. Approaching Bhagavan immediately, he prayed to him to grace him with 5 benedictory verses to Ramana Gita. He wanted 4 verses from Bhagavan, one each on the nature of reality, enquiry, yoga, and bhakti, while he would retain the earlier one of Bhagavan, Karunapurna Sudabdhe, as the first of the 5. Thus, Arunachala Pancharatnam was born in response to Ganapati Muni's prayer. The concluding verse, Ramana Maharsher, was composed by Daivarata Gajanan. Later, Bhagavan rendered Pancharatnam in Tamil, including the verse by Daivarata. Nayana wondered how Bhagavan, who claimed no knowledge of Sanskrit, could compose in so difficult a meter without wavering in the least from the strict adherence to the rigid rules of grammar that it demands. These 5 verses that fell as drops from the flood of inner light have for their content the quintessence of Vedanta in brief. Poetic excellence and profound depth of the thought add luster to these precious gems that provide a direct path to the attainment of knowledge of the Atman. Though in the garb of a hymn to Arunachala, the Upadesha contains is the path of jnana, freeing one from the bondage of samsara. I'll be presenting the first verse of this as an English translation. The first verse goes like this. A rising sun makes the lotus bud of a tank unfold its grandeur, but the lotus of the mind lake can be made to bloom forth only by the rays of the sun of wisdom. The heart lotus blossoms by the light of awareness, spread by Arunachala, the sun of wisdom, and the darkness within he destroyed. Chit Jada Granthi, the knot, is cut asunder. The real form is attained and it shines non-dually in its own splendor, and the heart shines as the expanse of pure awareness. Bhagavan prays to Arunachala that he be the sun of wisdom, effecting the unfolding of his heart lotus. All the appearances, the unreal, in all their entirety, are gobbled up, including the world, and the life on it with its origin in delusion and grief, and that alone remains the reality. Thus, it is clear that the reality is worldless and non-dual. The English translation for this is done by Dr. Sarada. The music is by Dr. Sarada. O ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, whose spreading grace engulf all things, shine as the sun which makes the heart lotus blossom fair, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, he whose pure mind turned inward, such as whence this eye arises, knows the self aright, and merges in you, Aruna Hill. He whose pure mind turned inward, such as whence this eye arises, knows the self aright, and merges in you, Aruna Hill, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, he who with heart surrendered to you beholds forever you alone, sees all things as forms of you, and loves them as none other. He who with heart surrendered to you beholds forever you alone, sees all things as forms of you, and loves them as none other than the self, O Aruna Hill, triumphs because he is immersed in you, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, O mount of light, O mount of light. Namo Ramana. We will now have the reading and sharing from the book Bhagavan Ramana, the Resplendent Sun, Visions of Angles of Vision by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we continue our readings from Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, The Resplendent Sun, Angles of Vision by our founder president, Shri A.R. Natarajanji. We had read the article contributed by Patrick Libel, who has written a book in French on Bhagavan. That article, which we read last week, was entitled Ramana Maharishi as a Vedic Seer. We are going on to the article contributed by Professor P.N. Srinivasachari. He has also written a lot of books on Vedanta. Pure Advaita of Sri Ramana Maharishi by Professor P.N. Srinivasachari. my early life. It has been my good fortune, even from my boyhood, to come into contact with Vedantic seekers and seers and be deeply influenced by them. When I was reading in the fifth form in 1894, an intimate spiritual friend who lived only for me introduced me to a Jivan Mukta in Georgetown, must be Madras, in Georgetown, well known as Santananda Saraswati, and got me initiated by him. I studied Advaita under him, but he passed away prematurely in 1900 AD. I was rudderless for some years. I then went to Sri Sivaprakasha Swami in Chule, and he taught me, know the I. Watch your thoughts and their origin, and they will wear away, and you will attain the stirless state of Shanti, the peace that passeth understand. Know the I, watch your thoughts and their origin, and then they will wear away, and you will attain then stirless state of Shanti, the peace that passeth understand. The idea naturally occurred to me that I should see the sage of Arunachala, Sahaja Samadhi of Ramana. Sahaja Samadhi of Ramana is the next heading. When I breathed his presence, what joy was mine, when for a moment I forgot my ego and egoism and was transported into a boundless atmosphere of bliss. Thought was not, and it expired in silence that transcends space and time, name and form. He lives the unique life of Sahaja Samadhi, or pure, eternal, contentless consciousness, which is a continuous, changeless state without any going or coming, progress or regress. While Sri Shantananda Swami used to come down from Samadhi, drawn by Prarabdha Karma, and then enter into it again till he attained Videha Mukti. What has origin in time and space has an end. But the Ramana Samadhi knows no change or being, and becoming Sahaja Samadhi is eternal self-awareness, transcending self-consciousness, and yet shining in the spaceless space and relationless awareness. It is beyond the body made of Prakriti, beyond the mental continuum of the three states of waking, dream, and sleep, and beyond the subject-object relation, beyond internal and external. It cannot be described in words. It cannot be defined logically. It is not bare of significant negation, but it is pure affirmation beyond negation and affirmation. It is the blessed nirvana where the all remains, transcending the relativity of universality and particularity. Gaudapada's exposition of the mind and Ramana's teachings. That is the next subheading. Gaudapada's exposition of the mind and Ramana's teachings. The Sahaja Samadhi of Sri Ramana is metaphysically expounded as Ajatavada on the lines of Gaudapada. It is a philosophic deduction from the Samadhi state, is pure Advaita state in which Atman is the Sat without a second, and it ever is without origin or end. Therefore, the Jagat or the world, different from it, simply is not or is non-existent. A bare negation like a square circle. How a square circle is not possible, like that the presence of the world is negated in the Advitiya Anubhava. Maya is Yama, Maya. That which does not exist is Maya. It is not. Existence or reality is mere subject without object and is not an existent or entity implying duality. But strict meticulous logic constrains us to say that Advaita is no Vada or philosophical theory, as it transcends all isms, including even Advaitism. The world simply is not, and all philosophic theories, like those of illusion, limitation, or self-contradiction, are mere theories, as in Samadhi there is no Jagat to account for. It is only when it is posited as an empirical entity or an inexplicable something, we know not what, that the riddles of the thoughts arise. All analogies drawn from dual experience are simply unsound. Mukti is eternal and it is not sought for, attained, or realized. There is no problem of duality and dualism to be solved. It is dissolved in the non-dual or identity consciousness where reality simply is. Therefore, Samadhi is beginningless and endless, and it is pure being or consciousness and bliss, the absolute beyond distinction, difference, and determination. It knows no opposite, neither analysis nor synthesis. The Ramana state is impersonal and incommunicable. It knows no guru-disciple relation in the usual sense. The experience is transmitted, not taught. The Ramana experience is always and everywhere, though I know one Ramana as such. It is not even immortality or all-pervadingness, as it knows no time or space. There is nothing other than it for it to pervade. The divine call is always there, like the serene and sublime Shanti in Badrinath, of which I had a glimpse. There, the teacher teaches without actual teaching. It is silence without speech or sound. Blessed are they that have ears to hear the divine call of Shanti. Blessed are they that have ears to hear the divine call of Shanti. This author has written many books on philosophy, which have been published and are available on the net. Symposium, What Sri Ramana Means to Me, by Kaviyogi Shuddhananda Bharati. Symposium on What Sri Ramana Means to Me by Kaviyogi Shuddhananda Bharati. He has his own ashram and teachings much later. He was involved in the freedom movement before coming to Bhagavan. Victory over ignorance, meaning of. Victory over ignorance, meaning of. What Sri Ramana means to me, this reminds me of an instance that took place when I was deeply meditating at the feet of the Master in 1927. It was Kritika Day, when the ashram was flooded by common visitors. It was only a thatched shed then. Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni had just completed his Indrani Kavyam, written in the Vedic spirit. It appeared in Telugu magazine and was edited by my friend. It appeared in a Telugu magazine edited by my friend Bhagya Reddy of Hyderabad. Kavyakanta's silver voice rendered the Telugu poem in thrilling accents. O Indra, you say I conquered, for me victory. Devas say victory to you. Who is this I? This me, and this he, and this you. Ganapati Muni is singing this song. O Indra, you say I conquered, for me victory. Devas say victory to you, O Indra. Who is this I, this me, and this he, and this you? This was an interesting inquiry. I simply looked at Ramana Bhagavan for a right answer. Ramana's mellifluous voice pierced my heart, as well as the heart of the Kritika audience. Bhagavan is responding. The victory over ignorance and darkness is not won as long as there is me, mine, he, she, you, or the ego. The victory over the forces of ignorance and darkness is not won as long as there is me, mine, he, she, you, or the ego. when number, gender, and case are assimilated into the unique heart, whose form is I, then alone lasting divine victory is won. The victory over the forces of ignorance and darkness is not won as long as there is me, mine, he, she, you, or the ego. When number, gender, and case are assimilated into the unique heart whose form is I, then alone lasting divine victory is won. The Gospel of Ramana. To me, Bhagavan Ramana means this divine I, the universal transcendent reality, omnipresent and omnipotent, not only me, but to the whole world, to all humanity. Ramana is a symbol of the unique I, which is the summum bonum of existence. Not only to me, but to the whole world, to all humanity. Ramana is a symbol of the unique I, which is the summum bonum of all existence. This is the central reality of yoga and Vedanta. The Bhagavan was reading a chapter from my Ramana Vijayam. Which depicted his relation to monkeys, dogs, and cows. A funny man near me put an eccentric question. While everything is I, is Bhagavan monkeys, cows, and animals too? Bhagavan was reading a chapter from my Ramana Vijayam, which depicted his relation to monkeys, dogs, and cows. A funny man near me put an eccentric question. While everything is I, is Bhagavan monkeys, cows, and animals too? With a subtle smile, Bhagavan kept silent for a minute. Just at the time Lakshmi the cow entered, there was a bunch of plantain fruits by my side. It was meant for my supper. Bhagavan took it and gave it to Lakshmi, who finished it off in 2 minutes. Bhagavan smiled at me with the remark, Bharati's supper has gone into the stomach of Lakshmi. I replied, the cow's hunger has eaten what is meant for me. Bhagavan continued and said, I gave, I ate, I again give. Inside Bharati, I gave my supper. Inside Bhagavan, I handed over the fruits. Inside Lakshmi, I ate. It is all the I. Here is your answer, said Bhagavan, looking at the gentleman who posed the question. Volumes are not necessary to write a treatise on the Gospel of Ramana. The busy business world has no time to assimilate all written stuff pouring daily torrential vociferous platforms are not worth the look of Ramana. All the world's books are in that look. That look makes one introspective and directs the inner vision to the central I, which is all in all, and all that you are, I am, he is, she is, or it is. That look makes one introspective and directs the inner vision to the central I, which is all in all, and all that you are, I am, he is, she is, or it is. Knowing this, I is in the conscient heart is all that matters. It can rise beyond this phenomenal world of names and forms and live the truth of the Vedas, which says the truth is one. It is the I in the core of beings, the light of knowledge and the height of bliss. Like lightning in clouds, it shines in the hearts. Ramana Bhagavan says, with equal sublimity, I. The Brahman shines as the self in the heart's cave. To realize that as all is the goal of life and living. Ramana Bhagavan says, with equal sublimity, I, the Brahman, shines as self in the heart's cave. To realize that as all is the goal of life and living. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. I once again request Sri Nandakumarji to conduct the self-enquiry session.
Namo Ramana. Before we commence the practice of Atma Ucharan, let us read from Guruvachaka Kovai. We are in verse 783. This is in the portion Meditation on the Truth. The earlier segment being Investigation on the Truth, and the subsequent is Anubhava or Experience of the Truth. This 783 is in the sub-segment Focusing intently on the source. Focusing intently on the source. 783. O mind, you who wander and suffer, searching outside for happiness instead of realizing the state of liberation that is truly yours by right, you should know that if you travel back along the way you came, then through that path you will attain endless supreme bliss, liberation. O mind, you wander and suffer, searching outside for happiness instead of realizing the state of liberation that is truly yours by right. You should know that if you should travel back along the way you came, then through that path you will attain endless supreme bliss, liberation. There is a question and answer from Ramana Paravidyopanishad. The question is, Swami, having a great desire for moksha and anxious to know the way hitherto, I have read all sorts of books on Vedanta. They all describe it each in a different way. I have also visited a number of learned people, and when I asked them, each recommend a different path. I got puzzled and have come to you. Please tell me which path to take. Bhagavan smiling, all right, then go back the way you came. We, Surinagama and other devotees who listened to the reply felt amused at this. They felt amused. The poor young man did not know what to say. He waited until Bhagavan left the hall, then with a depressed look turned to the others there appealingly and said, Gentlemen, I have come a long way with great hope and with no regard for the expenses or discomfort out of my ardent desire to know the way to moksha. Is it fair to tell me to go the way I came? Is this such a huge joke? Thereupon one of those present said, No, sir, it is no joke. It is the most appropriate reply to your question. Bhagavan's teaching is that enquiry, who am I, is the easiest path to moksha. You asked him the way I should go, and his saying, go the way you came, meant that if you pursue and investigate the path from which that I came, you will attain moksha. Go back the way you came meant that if you investigate and pursue the path from which that I came, you will attain moksha. That's what we will practice for 10 minutes. Trace the I thought back to its source and go back the way we came. So how do I come to speech? First, I come to the world by using the mouth and breath. So I go back. The I thought goes back to it. It goes back from the world to the speech. Now, to the speech, how did I come? I came through the thoughts I have in the mind. So I look at the thoughts. I don't speak. So if I hold the thoughts, I will come to speech and I will come to the world. I have to go back. So I have to ask, for whom is this thought? Always the answer will come, this thought is for me. And when I ask, who am I am going back the way I came to the source. So how have I come? From the source, the I thought, speech, world. Thought, seeing, world. Thought, touch, world. So from world, I am touching this chair, touch, thought, I thought, source. So we take the attention inward from the world, inward from the senses, Look at the thoughts. For whom is this thought? Always the answer will be, this is for me. Who am I? We have completed Bhagavan's Upadesha and gone back the way we came, the way the I thought came. For the next 10 minutes, let us sit in practice of Atma Ucharan. You will help us with the time. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Atma Vidya Kirtanam by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave. Dhyanamoolam, Gurur Murtihi, Pujamulam, Padam. Mantramulam Vakyam Mokshamulam Guror Mokshamulam Guror Kripa. Namo Ramana. We are doing Manana on Atma Bodha, and in the last satsang we had done Manana on verse number 17. I'll just do a little recap of that. Though always all-pervading, Atman does not manifest everywhere. It manifests only in the intellect, buddhi, like a reflection on the immaculate surface. Atman is infinite and all-pervading. It is unmanifest. It becomes manifest in thoughts. Atman assumes an individuality when it functions through the medium of thoughts. Thoughts are to Atman what a reflecting medium is to the sun. Sunlight is all-pervading. It falls everywhere, but the reflection of the sun rays takes place only in a reflecting surface. The reflecting medium causes a distinct and separate reflection of the sun. Similarly, wherever there are thoughts, there is a individualization of one homogeneous, all-pervading Brahman Atman. When you withdraw your preoccupations with the external world and become introvert with the external world and become introvert, you are fit for concentration and meditation. The last stage of meditation, your mind chants the mantra, your intellect, the discriminating faculty in you observes the chant. This is what we did Manana on last time on verse number 17. We'll request Sapna to kindly chant the verse number 18, please.
Yes, sir. देहेन्द्रियमनो बुद्धिः प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणं तत्वृत्ति साक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा देहेन्द्रियमनो बुद्धिः प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणं तत्वृत्ति साक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. One should understand the Atman to be distinct from the body, sense organs, mind, intellect, and vasanas, and always a witness of their functions like a king. The Atma is distinct from the material equipments and their functions. In the presence of the Atman, the physical body acts, whether the activities are good or bad. It is the same Atman which enables the sense organs to perceive the world of objects of the world. Likewise, it enables the mind to feel various emotions and intellect to think of different thoughts. Atman is a substratum from which all activities emanate, either in the form of subtle manifestations as thoughts and desires within, or gross expressions as perceptions and actions in the external world. Though it is in the activating principle, Atman remains ever detached and independent of all activities. It is a mere witness. It is never involved in it is never involved or contaminated by any of the activities. In its presence, every being bristles into activity, but itself has no activity of its own. The Atman is compared to a king. A king sitting in a throne activates the ministers and counselors, ceremonies and entertainments, but himself remains a detached observer of them all. The word Sakshi is translated as witness, but has a deeper significance. It indicates the good of human perfection as well as technique by which you should reach that goal. The goal of perfection is to realize your own supreme self. The self witnesses all activities at the physical, mental, and intellectual levels without getting involved or affected by them. This goal is reached by practicing to witness your own perceptions, emotions, and thoughts arising within yourself. The sadhana, spiritual practice starts when you're trying to observe detachedly the world and its manifold activities without indiscriminately indulging and getting involved in them. When you reach such a state, you next direct the art of witnessing inwards towards your own actions, emotions, and thoughts. If you succeed in doing that, you will remain detached and not get affected by them. Thus, by disassociating with the body, mind, intellect, and their functions, and attuning to the self within, you will gradually merge with the divine self. So it's a beautiful verse. The concept here is that importantly is the concept of neti neti. We came to say, oh, this is not the self. This is not the self. So if you actually do the neti neti and say that, if you practice what Nandakumarji just said, because of the mind, your body, and then you have the world, and you say the world is not the self, then you are dealing with this body, mind, and intellect only. And if you start practicing and say you're not this body, you're not this mind, you're not this intellect, then by doing self-enquiry, you are going within and going within. And that Ekshloki, which says Hridaya ko hara madhye kevalam brahma matram, is very, very powerful. We should never, we should always keep going back to that, because the self is within. We should not get lost in the multitude of the what we see and through our senses. We should realize that God that we are seeking is within. So when you realize that, then what Bhagavan says is that in the intellect, when there is absolutely no movement, there is no. It's like the lake where then there's absolutely no movement. The reflection of the sun will be perfect. That's what it says. If there's no movement, there are no ichhas, there are no desires, there are no vasanas, then you will be abiding this. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana. Namo Ramana. Thank you.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Jnana Vichara Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara by Dr. Kalarani Rengaswamy.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Arunachalamenna agame ninaipavar agathai veraruppai Arunachala. Namo Ramana to all. With the abundance grace of Bhagwan, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara Padalam, very graciously given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. This Jnana Vichara Padalam is actually what Parameshwaran explained to Parvati about the way to attain mukti. I thank Bhagwan for making it possible for me to join this Saturday's satsang after a very long time. And in the last satsang nearly 2 months ago which I attended, we saw as mumukshus have no desire for worldly objects and they aim at attaining mukti only. There is no need for them to follow the discipline that they were observing till then. The only achara that needs to be followed by them is to unlearn everything. In Tamil, a great poet, Thai Manavar, says, Koduttadu attunayum kollai koduttu unnai adaindhen paraparame. After sacrificing everything that I achieved, that I learned, without even a trace, only then I attain you. Because acharas or niyamas are framed with a purpose. What purpose they have? Turning the outward mind inside and concentrate on its source, the self. We have to use our mind and not let the mind to boss over us. If so, we will be caught into trouble. But a mumukshu's mind, how it is not wandering here and there. He aspires only for mukti. His mind is concentrating on that goal alone. So it is not required for them to follow the niyamas which control the mind. Bhagavan says in verse 63 of this Jnana Vichara Padalam, Temamum Kshetra Pidatil Nihal Sevai Nama Archanai. The pujas and Nama Sankirtanas and Archanais done for the deities established in the famous Kshetras is not required for a mumukshu because they help him to turn the mind from outside world inward, which he has already achieved. And Pitru Nar Karmamum, he need not do even the Pitru Karma. Once Muruganar was seen very excited and he was wearing a neat dhoti and was wandering here and there in the ashram. Bhagavan asked, "What's the matter? You seem to be very excited today." Muruganar said, "Today it is my mother's Shraddham and I am looking for the Shastrihal to come." Bhagavan said, "Oh, that's the matter. I am the one Brahmin here. Why don't you do the karma with me?" "Oh, Bhagavan," he prostrated. And Bhagavan and Muruganar left the idea of doing the Pitru Karma. But what happened? Next year, the same day came. So Muruganar was carrying in his shoulder a full jackfruit. And when Bhagavan asked, "What's the matter? You are carrying a jackfruit on your shoulder." He said, "It's my mother's tithi. So I thought I can distribute the jackfruit to all the devotees in the ashram." So Bhagavan said, you have not left the Pitru Karma, isn't it? That's it. Mruganar gave mukti to Pitru Karma. So in the next line, Bhagavan says, adds, Pu Maruvu Tirtha Yatirai, Deha ar Viradangal, Ortida Avarku, Undrum Illayam. Tirtha Yatras, that is the holy dip in Ganges and other holy rivers, is not required for them because it is believed a holy dip in Ganges and other holy rivers relieves a person from all his sin. When a mumukshu is concentrating on his source, he is aiming for only that goal. Where is the question of papa and punya? I'll tell you an instance. Once a person came to Bhagavan and said, Bhagavan, I also want to do self-enquiry and attain mukti. I'm very much interested. But I have done lot of sins. And of course, some punya also I have done. How can I attain mukti? It's very difficult, isn't it? Bhagavan said, why it is difficult? Give all your papa punya to me. He said, okay, and said, I give all my punya to you. Bhagavan said, why do you hesitate? Give all your papa sin also to me. No, Bhagavan, I have committed so many sins. If you come to know about them, you will not accept it at all. No. Bhagavan insisted him to give all his sin to him. And he also gave all his sin to Bhagavan. Now Bhagavan said, there is no papa punya, there is no good or bad, nil balance. Now you can start with your self-enquiry. Bhagavan is more than Ganges. Surinagama says, when people bring Ganga water and tirthas from other holy rivers, Surinagama says, I used to think, oh, Ganga Mata has come to Bhagavan to get blessings from him. So, a mumukshu, when he has already concentrating on the self alone and he has that goal only, there is no papa punya. The papa or punya is not going to get attached to him. Moreover, Bhagavan says, he need not follow any fasting or vratas, Ekadasi vrata, Pradosha vrata, Krishna Ashtami, like there is the fruits of these vratas are not going to hold that person, a mumukshu. Why? Bhagavan says a mumukshu need not follow these vratas or tirtha yatra or do nama rupa japa because they are all done with the mind as the base. Only when there is a mind, we can do all these karmas. But what is the need? When he has a control over mind and take it to the source. So, if a mumukshu concentrates on all these, his mind will go outside. If he is concentrate on avarata, if he thinks I should do this nama japa, then the mind goes outside only and there is no way of getting inside. He has to go inward and inquire. That is why Bhagavan insists that a mumukshu need not follow all these acharas. In the next stanza, Bhagavan emphasized the same. Dharuma, dharumam, tarum, palan, illai. The fruits of papa punya is not going to affect a mumukshu. Maruvutiri ulagam mannum karumam il. There are no so many karmas, yogas, japas, namasangitnas in the world. He is not supposed to follow all these karmas. Ella karmamum igandide. Get rid of all these karmas. Ella vidattum ulaga acharam iga. Sacrifice all the acharas that you were following till now. Come out of all these acharas and concentrate only on the self alone. But we have to remember these words of Bhagavan are for mumukshus. That were mumukshus only. Till one attains that stage, one has to follow all the acharas and niyamanas. If not, it will be like simply an escapism. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramana Chatvarimshat by Sri Ujwal Jagadeesh.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We have been meditating on the verses of Ramana Chatvarimshat, 40 verses in adoration of Ramana, written by Ganapati Muni, and which have been compiled in this format and given to us by Bhagavan Ramana himself. And the verses that we are meditating says, O Ramana, for you, compassion is not at all a quality, but it is your own true nature. Na karuna guna tava vidampate hridayate chasa sahaja vaivate. Na karuna guna ramana tava vidampate ramana hridayate chasa ramana sahaja vaivate. Tava tanurjvala anaga vidyuta tava drigatata lasati bhaswata. Tava tanurjvalat anaga vidyuta tava drigatata lasati bhaswata. Karune gunavala ninage odayane ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ. ಕರುಣೆ ಗುಣವಲ್ಲ ನಿನಗೆ ಒಡೆಯನೇ, ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ. ನಿನ್ನ ಅಮಲ ದೇಹವು ಮಿಂಚಿನಂತೆ ಹೊಳೆಯುವುದು, ನಿನ್ನಮಲ ದೇಹವು ಮಿಂಚಿನಂತೆ ಹೊಳೆಯುವುದು. ನಿನ್ನನಂತ ನೋಟವು ರವಿಯಂತೆ ಮೆರುಗುವುದು. ನಿನ್ನಮಲ ದೇಹವು ಮಿಂಚಂತೆ ಹೊಳೆಯುವುದು, ನಿನ್ನನಂತ ನೋಟವು ರವಿಯಂತೆ ಮಿರುಗುವುದು. ಕರುಣೆ ಗುಣವಲ್ಲ ರಮಣ ನಿನಗೆ ಒಡೆಯನೇ ರಮಣ, ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ. After talking about the karuna of Bhagavan Ramana, which is so natural, Ganapati Muni talks about the beautiful form of Ramana. He says, O Ramana, your form is so pure. It is without any spot. Anagha. Anagha means that which is so pure. And it is not only pure, it is as bright and as effective as the lightning. Such is the form. And how is your glance, your vision? The vision is so ananta. It just spreads the whole universe. There is nothing which is beyond your glance. And that glance is shining by its own light, just like how the sun shines by its own light. Your glance is shining and guiding each one of us with that light. As Ganapati Muni says in the earlier verse, O Ramana, Karuna is not an quality for you. It is only the karuna of Bhagavan Ramana which brought him to Arunachala. Because at the age of 16 in Madurai, on the 17th of July 1896, the boy Venkataraman in a flash had understood that what dies is only this body, but he is not the body which is mortal, but he is that immortal, deathless spirit. So he had understood this realization was complete, and that realization of one as the God's power is the purpose of every being. And that boy Venkatraman had understood this and realized it completely and on that day. And there was no need for him to continue this life carrying this body. But it is that compassion of Ramana who wanted to share this knowledge and guide all the seekers of truth to understand this truth, that the body is not us. The body is ever changing. The body is not in our control. So how can we call ourselves this body? We are not this mortal body, but we are that immortal self. To remind us this truth and take us and guide us to that truth which is ever shining within each one of us in the heart, Ramana was drawn to Arunachala. And there in Arunachala, he embraced the Arunachaleshwara and reported, "Father, I have come." And then after he got his head shaven and just wearing a kaupinam, was spending his time in the various parts of the Arunachaleshwara temple. And people were drawn to the beauty of this young sage. There was this dancer, a Devadasi called Ratnammal, who was serving the Annamalaya temple, the Arunachaleshwara temple, by offering dance to the god. And on her way to her performance, she saw this young sage. And this young sage who was so beautiful, so bright, as if he was a lightning, how a lightning draws our attention. In that way, her attention was drawn to this young sage. Although this young sage who was sitting was covered, the whole body was covered with dust and grime, and his hair was matted, and his nails had grown long and was curled. Although he was in a pathetic condition, but something came out of all these appearances, something which was so beautiful and attracted everyone. And Ratnammal told her mother, "Amma, you have to serve this young sage. Otherwise, I will not leave from here. I will not eat anything." She was adamant, and her mother had to agree, and her mother gave this young sage a morsel of food every day. And Ramana, later recalling the story of Ratnammal, how she continued protecting this body, the body which is golden in color, which is so beautiful, which is so pure. So that body was being protected by various mothers, including Ratnammal, the dancer. And Ramana says that Ratnammal was very, very pure. She was Apita Kuchamba herself, who had come in that form as a dancer, and she was protecting the body of her child. Such was the beauty of Ramana's body that everyone were drawn to it. And this body was not only very, very beautiful and pure, but it was also like the lightning. It is like the fire. We have an instance of Achyuta Dasar, who came with his disciples to the presence of Ramana. The Achyuta Dasar was a great Tamil poet, and who had written many, many songs in Tamil and with great scholarship. So he had composed many, many songs of great value, and he came to the presence of Ramana. And when he saw Ramana, he completely understood who Ramana was. And he waited at Guru Murtam for Ramana to open his eyes. And when Ramana opened his eyes, he fell at his feet. and he touched his feet and prostrated to it, and he massaged those feet, and he commented, there can be great scholars, there can be great poets, there can be great composers and everything, but it is very, very rare to find such a one who is ever abiding in the self. Such is the glory of this great Jnani whom we are seeing, he told to all his disciples. And when his disciples were ready to go and touch the feet of this sage, he told, stop. Don't touch this great sage. He is fire. He told, he is fire. He is that lightning which burns all the ignorance. Such light is Bhagavan Ramana. And Ganapati Muni says, this body which is like the lightning, which is so beautiful, it is also very, very pure. We have heard of how the Narayana, he is described as the one who is very, very pure. And the example that is given is when Narayana came in the avatara of Sri Rama, just by the touch of the pada dhuli, the dust of his feet, Ahalya's shapam vimochana happened. All the curse and the papam, that the sins that Ahalya had done, was destroyed, and she gained back her original state. Such is the power, the purity of the touch of Narayana who came as Sri Rama. And we hear of instances where Adagammal, who came to stay with Bhagavan Ramana, sometimes she used to follow this vratam of orthodoxy, and when sometimes she would have touched something which should not have been touched, and it was very difficult to take bath every time she gets impure. So it was very difficult because the water had to be brought from a source very, very high, so a lot of difficulty to bring the water. So since there was scarcity of water, Adagammal got this new idea. Whenever she felt she was impure or she needed to have a bath, she used to go and touch Ramana and come back, saying that Ramana is ever pure, and if she touches him, then she will become pure, back to become pure. So Ramana is that Ganga which showers his grace and makes each one of us pure. He is not only the purest one, but he makes everyone who comes in touch with him into purity himself. And he is the light which destroys our ignorance of darkness and makes us also become that very same light. To reveal this truth, to make this happen, to make us one with himself, Ramana has taken this beautiful golden form and has come into our lives. We prostrate to that Ramana who is ever pure and who is so beautiful and who has come into our lives to guide us to our own true self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramana Ashtottaram, written by Vishwanatha Swami. This will be shared by Dr. Sarada.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, and we are meditating now on the Nama Churnita Akhila Vibhramaya Namaha, the one who destroys all illusions, the one who always destroys all illusions, Churnita, who makes them absolute, who powders them. Who powders what? Akhila Vibhrama, all illusions. Churnita Akhila Vibhramaya Namaha. How does Bhagavan destroy all illusions? Because Bhagavan destroys the root illusion. He roots out the basic illusion. And we also hear, of course, in Appalam song, Bhagwan gives this analogy of powdering the eye. He says this eye is like an ego. This eye is like the gram, the black gram. The ego he equates to the black gram, and he says this black gram growing in the body field. Tanalla Ainkosha Kshetramidil Valar Tanenum Manamam Danya Ulundai Nanar Jnana Vichara Tirihayil Nan Alla Endre Udaithu Podithu, break it and powder it, he says. Powder this ego eye. How? In the quern of self-enquiry. What is done for making appalams is that this black gram is taken and it is put into the quern. The quern is the one which goes round and round and round. It has two stone mortars, and there's a hole in between. And inside that hole, the gram is poured in limited quantities. The gram is poured and repeatedly poured. And when it is poured, what happens? There is a handle, and the upper mortar is turned. Then that gram gets caught between the two mortars and it gets crushed first. Udaithu. Then it gets powdered and it comes out. So this is the process, says Bhagavan. The process is to break the ego. How does one break the ego in the self-enquiry? Every time the ego rises. How does the ego rise? The ego rises by saying, it rises through the senses first. It says, I see something. The moment the thought comes, I see something. Bhagavan says, put it into that quern of self-enquiry. Ask, who is seeing? Who is seeing? This is a thought. I see something. I may see many things. I may see one thing. But that I see is a thought in my mind. So, recognize this. I see something is a thought in my mind. Then ask, who is this I who is seeing? Who is this I who is seeing? My eyes are seeing something. But what my eyes see, my mind is saying, I see, I see. If I close my eyes also after I see something, my mind would say, I have seen this. I remember that I have seen this. So actually, every experience, whether it is seeing, whether it is hearing, whether it is tasting, whether it is touching, all our experiences, sensory experiences are, Bhagavan says, in the mind. So what does he do? First he powders the dependence on our sense experience. We don't need to worry about what our eyes or ears or nose or mouth or all our senses are telling us. They keep telling us many stories. They give us many stories. But Bhagavan says, you need not pay attention to any of the stories which the senses are giving you. Rather, you start your own story, get back and say, okay, these are all stories which are happening in my mind, but who is seeing all this? Who knows all this? Who is hearing all this? Who is tasting? Who says, I know, I know, I know? Who is getting all these thoughts? So many thoughts. Fast, running fast. Who is getting all these thoughts? Don't worry about any of them. Don't worry about any of the information that is running around in the head. Don't worry about it at all. This is what Bhagavan says. And he says, Ramana says, get back. All these are illusions. All these akhila vibhrama. All these are illusions. Don't worry about them. Then what about my feelings? I like something. I don't like something. I'm happy sometimes. I'm worried sometimes. I'm anxious sometimes. What are they? They're also stories, says Bhagavan. They're also stories which your mind is creating. Your mind is creating a story. Oh, the moment I see this picture, I am happy. The moment I see that picture, I am unhappy. The moment I taste this dish, I am happy. The moment I taste that dish, I am unhappy. Who is telling us all this? Our mind, our thoughts are telling us all this. But the thoughts are going away after some time. Each story is starting and disappearing. Each story starts, it disappears. So Bhagavan says, they're all illusions. What is an illusion? What is an illusion? An illusion is that which starts and finishes, which doesn't stay all the time, which is not continuous, which is not always there. That which is like a dream. When we wake up from a dream, we say, oh, that was only a dream. Why do we say that was a dream? What makes us say that was a dream? While we are dreaming, we can't say this is only a dream. Ramana, he once had a dream. He had a dream, Bhagavan had a dream in which he was walking on the streets of a big city, which was a big city. It was Tiruvanamalai, with lot of skyscrapers and things like that. And whom was he walking with? He was walking with Major Chadwick. And he asked, in the dream, he asked Major Chadwick, if I tell you this is a dream, what will you say? And Chadwick said, who will call this a dream? Which fool will call this a dream? So in the dream, we never realize that it's a dream. But the moment we wake up from the dream, oh, that was only a dream. Whether it was a bad dream or a good dream, if it's a bad dream, oh, thank God, it was only a dream. And if it's a good dream, oh, it's over, but it was a dream. It's okay. It has to get over because it was a dream. It was only a dream. What makes us say that? The fact that it got over, that's all. That it got over. But Bhagavan says, every thought of ours is equally an illusion. It gets over. Every experience of ours is equally an illusion. It gets over. So Bhagavan says, don't pay attention to any of these illusions. Churnita, you just keep on powdering every illusion. And he did that for Mother Aragamma. He told her, don't pay attention to any of these events which are happening in your life. Because the story is written by God. The life story is written by God. And God will see to it because He is the director, He is the writer. He will see that the life goes on. As He has written the story, in that way it will go on. He will see to it that it happens, being the director. But what can you do? You can allow the actions to go on as an actor, and you can be very, very happy within yourself, absolutely silent, not troubled by the millions of thoughts which are coming and going, doing their parts. We need not be troubled by them at all, says Bhagavan to his mother. Just be silent, be silent. You be silent. Let everything go on. Let the world go on. Let actions go on. Let thoughts go on. If they come, let them come and let them go. Why do you get attached to them? Don't worry about them. And don't try to change things. Don't try to change things, because when we start trying to change things, then we get worried, because sometimes we're able to change things, sometimes we're not able to change things, and then we get worried. So Bhagavan actually is, when Vishwanatha Swami says he powders the illusions, he destroys the illusions. Shiva is called a destroyer. But this destruction is full of love. Because when the illusion is there, They are always in sorrow. There is a heavy weight of sorrow on our head. There's anxiety on our head. But when the illusion is destroyed, we are completely free. So He is the loving one who destroys all our illusions. That is how He did for Mother Aragamma also. He started her journey, a real inward journey, by this instruction to her. He didn't mean to give an instruction perhaps, but He gave an instruction to all of us that we need not worry about the events in life. Let it happen. Around us, sometimes 20 people may come. Around us, one person may be there, or we may be alone. We may be in a crowd. Our mind may be crowded, or our mind may be silent. Each day it is different. Each moment it is different. But it doesn't matter, says Bhagavan, because all these are illusions and we should simply powder them down. Powder them down. They are not for me. They are for me. They are not I. They are not I. And who am I? Bhagavan takes us back to this, in this great compassion after powdering all our illusions. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We'll now have the chanting of Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivas.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. தேடாதுற்றன திருவருள் நிதியக தியக்கம் தீர்த்தருள் அருணாச்சலாம் தைரியமோடு முன்மெய்யக நாடயம் தட்டழிந்தேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலாம் தொட்டருட்கைமை கட்டிடாயனிலிய நட்டமாவேனருள் அருணாச்சலாம் தோடமில் நீயக தோடொன்று என்றும் சந்தோடம் ஒன்றிடர் அருணாச்சலாம் நகைக்கிடமில்லை நின் நாடிய எனையருள் நகையிட்டு பார் நீ அருணாச்சலாம் நாணிலை நாடிட நானாயொன்றினி தாழுவா நின்றன அருணாச்சலாம் நின்னெறி எரித்தென்னை நீராக்கிடும் முன் நின்னருள் மழை பொழி அருணாச்சலாம் நீனானர புலி நிதங்கடி மயமா நின்றிட நிலை அருள் அருணாச்சலாம் நுண்ணுரு உன்னையான் விண்ணுரு நன்னிட எண்ணலையிருமென்றருணாச்சலாம் நூலறிவறியா பேதையன் என்றன் மாலறிவருத்தருள் அருணாச்சலாம் நெக்குருகியான் புக்கிட உன்னை புகழ்நக்க நான் நின்றனை அருணாச்சலாம் நேசமில் எனக்கு உன் ஆசையை காட்டி நீ மோசம் செய்யாத அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி. நமோ ரமண.
Namo Ramana. We will conclude today's satsang, the Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan. The puja will happen at the puja room in Ramana Maharshi Heritage Auditorium, the meditation hall. The puja will be done by Ujwal Jagadeesh. The chanting of Ashtottaram will be done by Vaibhavji, Prarthana, Uma and Ashwini.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्री रमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बासहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजदशराकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्री शोणाचलरुद्भूत स्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादकसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्चान्तकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्री रमण भगवते नमः। श्री अष्टोत्तर शतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्यैकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावर्ण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावर्ण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತೆ ಅದರ ಚಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆ ಮೈಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರ್ಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ नमो महर्षि। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।